Welcome to the Winning Platform Owner Podcast, the podcast that is dedicated to enabling ServiceNow platform owners with valuable knowledge, tools, and strategies. In this episode, we'll take a look at a very simple but very important approach to managing demand on the ServiceNow platform and to delivering consistently on that demand. Ready? Let's go. Well, welcome to the show, everyone. My name is Ben Pierce. I've been on the ServiceNow platform and working in the ServiceNow space since about 2009. I'm a raving fan of the platform, but I'm actually an even bigger fan of the folks who do incredible things with the platform. And you know, that usually starts with a platform owner. And so the objective of this podcast is to provide value to the ServiceNow platform owners, kind of be a tool in your tool belt, if you will. If you're not a ServiceNow platform owner, certainly glad you're here. You're more than welcome to this content, but it really is geared towards ServiceNow platform owners. So that's who I like to try and help the most, but I'm very glad to just be of help to anybody who's listening to this podcast. Well, today we're going to talk about a very simple concept. It's not hard to understand, really not hard to execute on either, but some people just have a hard time with it for a whole number of different reasons. I've had a hard time with it at certain points in my career. The story kind of goes like this. You have the ServiceNow platform, and as a platform owner, in some sense, you control this platform, definitely managing it, trying to create as much value as you can. And whether you just did an implementation or whether you're just the new platform owner for the ServiceNow platform, or you moved companies or whatever the case may be, you're at a point where you're like, hey, I got to use this platform. I got to start delivering value on this platform for my organization. And I have to start showing value on the platform. So that's kind of where you start. And then the story goes a lot like this, usually. You start getting all kinds of demands from different places. It could be that you walk in the door in the morning and your boss hits you up on IM, or you're walking by their office and they hit you up with something that needs to be done on the platform or an idea that they have to deliver some value on the platform. So you jot that down or you make a mental note, and then you store that somewhere. And then you go and you get an email or two or three or four of people who are like, hey, I want to talk to you about using the platform in this way or in that way. And then somebody stops you in the hallway or at the tail end of a meeting and says, hey, I wanted to talk to you about this enhancement that I want to do. It's not really working quite right for my team on the platform, so I want to do this, that, and the other thing. And before you know it, you've got all kinds of these different requests coming in from a bunch of different areas, and they're stored in a bunch of different places. This can happen really fast too. And so you start to feel a little bit out of control. Well, then you kind of ad hoc pick things. Maybe it's the loudest screamer. Maybe it's whatever's on fire. If you have some maintenance things going on the platform that you need to take care of. But in any case, you just start doing stuff. And actually, you're just feeding your team, or maybe they're doing stuff that they see needs to be done. Oh, by the way, platform owner, we're going to include this maintenance item in this sprint, and we're going to change this and change that. It starts to feel ad hoc in how you deliver. And then at the end of it all, stuff is delivered to production. There's a lot of work done. All of this is very hard, right? And so a lot of stuff is delivered, but then it's kind of like, well, when did we deliver this? Or yeah, I think we did that. I'll have to look back at the story that we had, or maybe you just have it on a spreadsheet. You get my point. You start to lose track of a whole bunch of things all through the process. And so how do you avoid that? If you're brand new, it is. How do you avoid that? If you're in the midst of it, and a lot of ServiceNow platform owners are, it's kind of like, how do I get off this crazy train? How do I exit here and get to some sanity? So what I'm going to tell you again is very simple. Here's how I like to think about it. One door in, one process, one door out. And I shorten that up for myself, just in my mind. One door in, one door out. So what do I mean by all of this? Well, what you want to do is one door in. You have one door in to your team, and it could be a big team, could be a small team, but there's one door in for new stuff. It could be a new demand, a new functionality that somebody wants to use on the platform. It could be just a little fix that they want to do. Everything comes in through one door. What does that really look like? It's really as simple as creating one place for people to go. Now, like I said, I'm a ServiceNow platform fanatic. So I suggest and recommend that you make that one place a catalog item, or use demand management on the ServiceNow platform and go that route. The honest truth is, though, it just needs to be one place. So everybody has to go to one spot, and all that demand collects in one location. Now, the other part of that is you have to make it simple. There has to be a low threshold to get the thing logged in the first place. That new demand, that enhancement request, whatever it is, people have to be able to go to your one place and very easily say, here's what I want to do. It's a bad idea to start really getting crazy and asking like 1,000,001 questions. Maybe you ask them, hey, here's my idea, here's what I want to do. And then you ask them, well, how does this align to business priorities? And maybe you ask them some questions about what the impact would be or something like that. It's kind of different for different organizations. They value different things, but those are some common ones. The point is, make it simple. Don't make it a high threshold to get these things logged, because the idea is you want them all in that one place, and you want to make it easy so that they'll just go there, right? A lot of times people make the mistake of setting up their one place, and then they make it really hard. They make it to where, if I just send so-and-so an email, that's a lot simpler and a lot easier for me as an end user. And I guarantee you that'll happen every time if you make it really hard to kind of get that demand logged and get that new, whatever it is, enhancement, fix, even get it logged. You want to make it simple. So one door in means you create one place. It's a simple entry point for new work. One door in. And then once you got that, you drive everyone to that one place. And this is actually the hard part, because it takes discipline. You have to be disciplined yourself as a platform owner to go, hey, Mr. Business person, that sounds like a great idea. Would you mind going over here to where we're collecting all that and punching it in for me to make sure we don't lose it? Or, hey, Ms. Business person, I need you to, don't send me this email, send me, log that in this one place, right? It's real simple, and help me do that to get your request in there so that we don't lose it. That takes some discipline as a platform owner and some savvy, right? We want to help people do it right, but we also don't want to continually do it for them. So take some savvy on where somebody's at and what you can ask them to do. But you have to be disciplined as a platform owner to drive people to the one place. And then the other thing you need to think about is your team has to be very disciplined. they have to kind of operate the same way I just described for you to operate. So if some team comes to them and goes, hey, this part of the platform isn't working right for me, can we change this on the change management application? They need to say, great idea. Go fill out this really short thing just so we can get that logged and don't lose it. Get everything going in that one place. So create the one place, make it simple, low threshold, and then drive everyone to that one place. That's your one door in. Once everything's in there, then you have to do something with it, right? And the worst thing you can do is to let it sit. You don't want to let your stuff sit there. You're going to do something with it. Either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it, and here's why, or you're not going to do it now and you'll reevaluate, right? Something has to happen with that new piece of work that's in there. And so that's where you really need a single process in there by which you move things from new demand all the way through your delivery pipeline to where you deliver it to production. How do you do that? Well, first of all, you have to take all of those new demands and you have to ask questions about them, right? You have to understand what is their strategic importance to the organization. You have to understand basically how big they are. You have to understand if they have a certain priority to them. Maybe the time horizon on some is shorter than others in terms of when they need it. All different things like this. And so basically what you end up with doing is processing everything and going, here's what we're going to do right now. Here's what should hit our backlog and then get processed in future sprints. So yes, we're doing it is one of your options. The other option is no, we're not doing it, and here's why. And you can't be afraid to do that one, right? You cannot be afraid to go, I love the creativity behind that idea, but that's not going to happen because, architecturally, we have a different strategy for how we solve that problem here at our organization. Those kinds of things. You can't be afraid to say no, but you definitely have to say why, and also show people, hey, we genuinely evaluated this thing, and here's why we're not doing it. And then your third option is, well, we're not doing it now, and so this is when we're going to reevaluate it. We think it's a pretty good idea, actually, and it actually kind of fits everything. It falls lower on the priority list than several other things that we have to get done for the organization. And so those are kind of the three dispositions that you can have for new demand that seem to work well, at least in my experience. Once you have those yeses, you got to move on them, right? So that sprint cadence for your team, and this is kind of a whole other topic that maybe you'll cover specifically in another podcast, but you have to have a good sprint cadence for your team, and they have to be pulling stuff through, and sizing has to be really done really well so that we can actually accomplish stories in a given sprint and deliver them into production so that value starts to flow. So that's that process from kind of light bulb where you get that new request all the way through delivery. You got to focus on that. So one door in, single process for delivering that, actually prioritizing it, selecting it, then delivering it. And then the final thing is one door out. What do I mean by that? That seems kind of simple and kind of maybe even doesn't make a lot of sense. We want to be able to deliver value in the same way. That kind of speaks to cadence, like we were talking about just a second ago, but you want to be able to deliver consistently and be predictable in delivering value. So in other words, people start to realize and understand that after every sprint, whenever your sprints are, every 2 weeks is typical. Some people do it in different time variations. But at the end of that sprint, there's going to be value that gets delivered. And you have to be predictable that way. So you got to deliver on cadence. You can't get to the end and go, well, yeah, we did a lot of work. And generally, this is true, right? The team does a lot of work, but then they don't finish. That can't be. You have to deliver value at the end of that cadence. And it has to be consistent over time. So in other words, you don't want to put yourself in a position where you deliver this massive chunk of value, and then the next sprint you deliver teeny little dribble. And then the next time it's kind of medium. And then the next time it's teeny little dribble. And then the next time it's really massive amount of value. Sometimes you can't really help it, especially if you're implementing like a larger application on the platform, or if you're doing an initial implementation. That is a huge delivery there of value, and your next deliveries are definitely probably not going to be that big. But you want to try and get consistent over time. You want to get consistent in your cadence, and then you want to get consistent in the amount of value that you're delivering. And then related to this is you don't want to skip through the process. What do I mean by that? There will be some things that the developers that are working on it maybe have like a niche set of skills, or just the right set of skills, probably a better way to describe it, where they just like whip through all that work, or maybe they're really inspired by the type of work that it is or what it's accomplishing. And all of a sudden you come in one morning in the middle of the sprint and they're like, this is done. And you know what? They're going to test it today. And then you get to the end of the day and they test it and the customer's like, we want it now. But you haven't even reached the end of your sprint. The temptation is to say, okay, let's go ahead and deliver that. What I'm saying that's worked well for me is to say, we're going to deliver that at the end of our sprint. And it'll be in 1 week, or, whenever your sprints end. I realize that's a controversial statement, and probably a lot of people may disagree with me, but what I've found is that if you skip through your process and you go, yeah, you know what, that's all done, let's just go ahead and deploy it, it starts to muddy the waters and things get foggy. And then worst case scenario, you run into a case where you have one of your stakeholders that has a higher priority item and it didn't get delivered, and then they find out this other one did. It doesn't make any sense at all. And so you don't want to skip through your process. You want to stay with your delivery process and deliver things on cadence, consistent amount of value over time if you can, and then don't skip through the process as you're delivering things and promoting them to production. So there you go. One door in, single process of delivery, one door out. I've shortened it. One door in, one door out. It's a key concept, not complex. It's not rocket science. Nobody could ever accuse me of being smarter than most of the people in the room. But it's simple, and I've found it to be very effective. Now, what breaks this approach? What gets in the way? Actually, if you as the platform owner don't own the platform, that will get in the way. And by own, I mean you got to take ownership of that platform. I saw a platform owner struggle with owning the platform, and the only reason, it wasn't because they weren't smart, it wasn't because they weren't really relational, which you have to be as a platform owner. It was because they really didn't just own that platform and go, no, this is my platform. I'm trying to deliver value. It's not that I get to make all the prioritization decisions, but darn it, I'm going to take care of this platform. I'm going to have my team taking care of it. We're going to do things right, and we're going to deliver value on this platform. If that's not there as a platform owner, it'll break this one door in, one door out, because those types of platform owners will take shortcuts. They won't stick to the process. They'll be undisciplined about their one door in, and it gets in the way. So that will break the approach. What's another thing that will break the approach? Rogue BAs or developers that take in demands in other ways. So in other words, they create other doors. They have their friends in IT and maybe the service desk says, oh, hey, Joe over there, ServiceNow developer, we really need it to do this. Can you just like slip that in? And they do it. And they may not even, I'm not saying that they go and slip it into their development, although I've seen that happen. What they actually do is they're just creating another door in. And then it gets all mixed up. And it takes them cycles to manage all of that because they typically will do it with multiple work efforts, multiple different people. And it takes effort to manage that because it's not coming in through the single door. You get what I'm talking about. So anybody, it doesn't have to be a BA or developer, but anybody that kind of goes rogue on the team and creates another way in, that's a problem. You want to stop that, and because that'll break your simple one door in, one door out approach. The last thing is not delivering. Of course, if you do not deliver value, you break the one door in, one door out approach because people stop trusting it. They stop logging their new demands because they know they're not going to get done. Or it takes so long that, by the time they get it, it will be worthless. So that's one part of it. But there's another part, actually, that a lot of people forget. This will break your simple approach. And that is simply, if you don't communicate the consistent delivery of value, that'll actually break this one door in, one door out approach. And the reason is not because you're not delivering value, it's because nobody knows about it. So as a platform owner, you could be very disciplined in your one door in, your team is really disciplined in the single process, and you're really disciplined about the one door out. But nobody is communicated with in terms of the value that's delivered. And so what you want to do is make sure that you are consistently communicating every release. That would be like communicating release notes that are detailed and saying, hey, here's the value that we provided and delivered this sprint. And here's your bullet list. If you want to see details, drill in or drill down, that kind of thing. You can also do bigger things like submitting an infographic and sending it out, or putting posters on the wall saying, hey, we delivered this. A lot of people will do, the upgrades like that. They'll say, congratulations to the ServiceNow team for doing another successful upgrade. It brought us this, 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 and this. You can get creative, but the idea is you're consistently communicating the delivery of value, and you're not letting that good, solid delivery by your team kind of go unnoticed. That's part of the role of platform owner in my mind. So things that break your approach: platform owner doesn't own the platform, rogue team members create another door in, and not communicating the delivery of value will break your simple approach. So one door in, one door out. That's the content I have for you this time. Hope it's valuable to you. Please be sure to subscribe to this podcast and share it with fellow ServiceNow platform owners. And you know what's more important than being a winning platform owner? It's being a great person. So be humble, be kind, and make the world a little better for someone else today. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.